So the House of Representatives in the United States just gave the thumbs up for young men to get drafted. Let's talk about it. Now, while I understand that the real question is Fox News real news? I understand. I will say that this article does break down a couple of things that I believe them. I believe them. And I think that we should be paying a little bit more attention, not just to the fact that men might be drafted, but what the exceptions are for them not getting drafted, because that will directly affect women and femmes. Before we dive into the chaos, hi, my name is Shayna. I am a journalist. I talk a lot about decentering, men, child-free living, all that great stuff. So if that sounds like a vibe, please like, share, subscribe. And now let's dive into this. The House of Representatives passed a measure on Friday automatically registering men aged 18 to 26 for selective service. Everything up there basically says that this will start to take place in the next fiscal year. While it hasn't been invoked in over a century, it's mandatory for all male U.S. citizens to register for the selective service, also known as the military draft, when they turn 18. Failure to register is classified as a felony and comes with a host of legal challenges. While there isn't currently a draft in place, Congress and the president can reinstate the draft and force male citizens to serve in the military in the event of a national emergency or war that all volunteer military can't adequately support. I really want us to pay attention to how many ads we are seeing as we watch Netflix, Hulu, whatever streaming service you have. Pay attention to how many ads there are for the police force. How many ads there are for the military, how many ads there are for ROTC, how the U.S. military is not getting the numbers that it needs to hold up the war machine that it is used to holding up, especially with with the amount of news and press of what is going on in Palestine. And let's not even, when it comes to what's happening in Congo and Sudan and all these other places, the news about Chiquita Banana, which I might have to do a video about because I do talk so much about like food politics, but the amount of chaos that we have our hands into and the amount of press that is starting to come out about that, the military isn't getting the recruitment numbers that it needs. Thus, here we are. This section is about who needs to register. Almost all men who are 18 to 25 years old and live in the U.S. must register for the selective service. This includes U.S. citizens, U.S. born, dual citizens, and naturalized. U.S. citizens who live outside the country, immigrants, legal permanent residents, and undocumented immigrants, refugees and asylum seekers, transgender people who were assigned male gender at birth, and people with disabilities. The way that I would love for that Francesca Ramsey song to be playing over here, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Man, that's like all of you. That's like, here are the people that I feel bad for. Here are the people that I feel bad for. Immigrants who come to this country, emphasis on the undocumented immigrants who come to this country, already given the shit end of the stick, already struggling to make ends meet. Whatever they have is going to their family just to keep a roof over their heads. They're already treated terribly. And now you want to draft the babies? You want to draft the dreamers, the refugees. So they're basically saying, okay, any Palestinian that comes here, guess what? You thought you left a war? Oh, no. We're going to put you right. You might have escaped a genocide, but now you came here. We're going to punish you for that. We're going to enlist your children, your young men, into the army. So that way we could send them right back on the villain side of the genocide. And it's just, you wanted freedom. You wanted to live. I'm so sorry. Transgender people who were assigned male at birth, like, with the amount of anti-trans legislation, the amount of lack of queer affirming, trans affirming medical care that happens in the United States, I mean, this is just a continuation of the lack of trans affirming medical care in the United States, but now saying, hey, war for you. Black trans people die at such an exorbitant rate, are murdered. Let me be very clear about that. Are murdered at such an exorbitant rate. And now you're saying military. That's what you need. That's what we need. People with disabilities. And you see, here's the fascinating. They are saying we are low on people in the military. We need everybody. If you can sign up, you will sign up. If you can sign up, you will sign up. Now, once upon a time, that down here would just be for like, I got flat feet. Sorry, I can't join the military. But they said, no. Disabilities. They left that open-ended. Damn. Now, here's one of the parts that I really want us to pay attention to. Several groups are exempt from registering, such as those who are currently on active duty, some disabled persons, and those who are incarcerated. The prison industrial system at work. Hey, you don't want to go to war? You don't want to be in the army? Okay, go to jail. Go to jail, get incarcerated. Then you don't have to. Pick your poison. That's not what I'm saying. That's what is clearly being said by the United States military. Mind you, this is already passed in the House, and now it's in the Senate. So we shall see. Let's start up at the top with, are women eligible to register for the draft? The law currently requires that only men register with selective service. In the event that the law is changed to include registering women, selective service is prepared to expand registration, the website reads. Do you guys remember that story? I think it started off as a newspaper comic years ago about how all of these people were rallying and saying, hey, we need help. The government is doing this. And people said, oh, that's not my problem. And then that was group like D. And then group C said, oh my gosh, we need help. The government is doing this to us. So, oh my God, group A said, that's not my problem. And same thing happened to group B. And they said, that's not me. Group A said, that's not my problem. And then all that was left was group A. It's like, oh my God, somebody help the government. And then they look to the side of them and there's nobody to help. There's nobody to help. Women have our own in-house war that is going on. The war against our bodies and our autonomies. I'm so sorry. Men, we kind of have our hands full on this one. And this is not to say that we don't recognize that this could expand at any time. It's just not an immediate problem for us. So we are going to try our best to handle what we can handle. So just, thoughts and prayers. We recognize that this will affect us. Potentially could affect us soon. But we are busy. Now, how does this also feed into the capitalist machine? Because this felony is considered a federal if you decide not to register. It is punishable up to $250,000 or a prison term of 5 years. So guess what? The rich will be able to pay the fine and not have to go to war. In the same way that decades prior, even though abortion was illegal for everybody, if you were rich enough and had connections enough and were white enough, then daddy could pay, insert ridiculous amount of money here for you to have access to a safe abortion. So it all just kind of helps to feed that beautiful little capitalist machine that we all live into. Yay. But this is where we're really going to start seeing how women and femmes are going to be affected here, because not everybody is going to be automatically called. Not everybody is going to be automatically enlisted into the military. Here are some of the people eligible for deferments. Categories include married persons and college students, but married persons. So there's probably going to be an uptick of men really trying to put a ring on it, especially younger men trying to put a ring on it. Not because they love you, not because they care so much, not because you're so beautiful, not because you're the stars and the moon and the celestial planets. No, he's just really trying not to go to war. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. We're going to see how this unfolds on the political stage, but ladies, especially Gen Z, younger ladies, heads on a swivel, okay? Best of luck out there. I know that I said goodbye, but I have more thoughts. I had thoughts in here that I totally forgot about. So let's dive into these real quick. And the handy dandy. One, what on earth is as clearly, it don't make no sense, but what on earth is the United States government thinking? Because men aren't fighting men in real life. They are used to fighting people at a disadvantage. Women, marginalized people, whoever cannot fight back in the way that the amount of men that I see on a day-to-day basis, I live just outside of New York. The amount of men that I see on a day-to-day basis, there are women getting harassed all the time. And men are just like, the only people that I actually see standing up for the women that are getting harassed, that are getting assaulted, physically, verbally, whatever, are other women. But there was the New York punchers, not singular puncher, multiple men, just punching women, left, right, front, and center, right? So men are not fighting other men. What are you doing? I would really like to reiterate the fact that they are trying to draft Gen Z men. Just watch this. Just watch this quickly.
If anyone tries to draft me for this war, just know me and the opposition are going to be painting our nails together. We're going to be singing Kumbaya, karaoke. We're going to be watching Camp Rock. I'm not fighting a stranger for you, girl.
This is the common sentiment. This is the popular sentiment. This is the generational vibe of the people that the government says, oh yeah, they will be our only line of defense. Camp Rock playing, a Jonas Brothers moment. Who's playing Demi Lovato, guys? Really? Listen, and I love that for them. Not the war part, but like, I would love to be a part of singing Camp Rock with a bunch of people, especially like cringy dances. But I don't think that the U.S. government is so painfully out of touch with its people. I mean, most of the people in the House of Representatives and the Senate are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. So they remember what it was like for them to be like 18, 19. They have no idea they don't know things. I'm just gonna read what I have in here real quick. They don't know how to fight. On the side, they are Twitch streamers, podcasters with wet hands, and incels. On the good side, they are unlearning toxic masculinity, fighting against gun violence and a militarized police force and corruption in the United States, and learning healthy communication, boundaries. On both ends of the spectrum, these are not fighters. You got lovers on one end who are like, I'm sick of having to do mass shooter drills since I was 5. Then on the other hand, you said, I like screaming at women online because if a woman looks at me too long at the grocery store, I will cry. Neither of them know what to do with a machine gun. One says ill, and then the other one, once again, cries. Now, I have a baby cousin. His name is Jaden. I love him with every fiber of my being. He is such a good kid. He's such a good kid. And I see what is going on here. And I've been concerned for him for a very, very long time when it comes to school, his education. He's a smart kid. He's doing great. Like a bunch of AP classes, bunch of IB classes. He's doing great. But I think about what harm comes to good kids in bad systems, right? And it's not just him that's a good kid. I've met his friends. They're sweet kids, soft kids, really good communicators, active listeners. I'm like, the kids could be all right. I would argue a lot of the ones that I know, the kids are all right. It's the adults, it's the systems, it's these antiquated governments that are just, they're just lighting everything on fire. And here's the kicker of it all. And I know there's not a lot of men that watch my channel, so I don't think me saying this is going to be fodder in the wrong hands. I know more women that are ready to fight than men. Period. I know more women who fight than men. Period. I know more men that when things get hot and heavy, they start angling themselves behind their Aries girlfriend. Yeah. A Gemini woman, she's cocked and loaded all times. Arguably, she's running to the fight that the Aries woman is already actively in, having the time of her life. And the Cancer woman is laughing maniacally. What? The men though, there's this idea of men being strong fighters that are here for they like violence. A lot of men, the majority of men, whether they admit it or not all violence is fists and fighting. There's a bunch of other kinds of violence. And a lot of men like violence, but they also don't like being messy. I'm just like, oh my God, me? And it's not even just like being messy, they don't like getting their hands dirty. Women and femmes have had to get our hands dirty for so long to protect ourselves. We have realized for arguably hundreds of years, especially if you're a Black or brown woman, you've realized that if you don't protect yourself, then there is no protection coming. You should not expect protection from a man. So while there's a lot of men out there doing adult karate and jujitsu and whatever, right? For funsies or for whatever, there are even more women that are doing self-defense classes, practical self-defense classes, because they know that they need it. It is a practical skill for them. It is not a hobby. It's not a fun thing to do on a Tuesday night. If we could just be at home watching Real Housewives on repeat, gorging ourselves on limited edition ice cream and wine, and knowing that we will be safe the next day, oh my God, sign us up. But that's not the reality for the vast majority of women. We don't know what is coming our way. So we need to stay ready. And that staying ready and being ready isn't just in the training, but mentally walking down the streets of New York as a woman, we are always ready to fight. And we all know you shouldn't be fighting like this anyway. Bottom of the hand is how you break your knuckles, right over here, right? We know this. I live this. I'm sure thousands of you that are watching this live this. The men, they just get to walk down the street aimlessly. And then when crime happens, they go, whoa, in America? Men are so out of touch. The government is so out of touch. Now listen, we've already had a bunch of videos, not on this page, but maybe I'll put them up here later, where when it was joking around of oh yeah, there's going to be a gender inclusive draft. And then people are saying oh my gosh, the girlies, here's how we're going to organize with the girlies, right? Organizing as a joke, right? I don't know if this is going to make it through the Senate. I just know the United States is on fire and I'm getting out of here. That's all I know. Thoughts and prayers, because this don't look good. I don't like this. It don't taste good in the mouth. It's bad in an aftertaste also. Not a pleasurable palate. Not enjoying this country. Arguably never have, never will. So those are all of my thoughts. Please share yours in the comment section. That is all for now. And I will talk to you all later. All right. Stay safe out there.